This is news that I think we were preparing for all week, that Shanahan would be let go. And I'm curious to see what this means, for Brad Treliving. If he's staying, which I presume he will, does he have more power? Does he all of a sudden have more power to do things that maybe he couldn't do as of yesterday? What happens? How does Marner feel about this? How does Tavares feel about this? How does Matthews and Nylander feel about this? Austin Matthews is as connected to Brendan Shanahan as anyone else in his hockey career.
Right.
It could have effects. I really think Mitch Marner is going to go play somewhere else, but it could have a big-time effect on other decisions. Because if Brad Treliving's the GM and he kind of had thoughts on his own where it'd be like, I don't know if they were differing and he's allowed to make the call himself now, maybe there's different decisions that are going to be made. So who knows how those play out.
Well,
I'm sure Brad Treliving isn't going anywhere either. And it's not that, for people that are like, this is shocking. I played a long time in the league for the Carolina Hurricanes. There was Peter Karmanos, the owner, and then there was Jim Rutherford, the GM. There was nothing in between. Like, there's the hockey guy does the hockey things. I'm sure big transactions, contract signings, they got to be approved by the owner, of course. But that's how it's been for a lot of places for a long time. There's still no president in Carolina. Like this.
Yeah,
you
and
know
I
what
think
I mean? It's not that odd.
You've definitely heard people say around the league and around pro sports in general that, maybe in some ways this era of analytics and optimization and, so throwing money at problems that, powerful organizations like MLSE who have endless resources in terms of finances, maybe it kind of leads to this sort of bloated hierarchy where there's so many people working there that nobody knows what anybody does, and nobody's really truly responsible, maybe other than the guy right at the top. And so maybe there is something to be said for a little bit of streamlining, and certainly if you're into cost cutting, you can definitely make that argument.
Well, and that's the interesting thing. Like, fans hear cost cutting, and I think it makes you wince a little bit, right? You're like, okay, well, what is that? Where else are you going to cut? But I think it's been well stated and well documented for years that the Leafs operations are so bloated. They have so many
Pages
people.
and pages of staff.
Yes. Like, almost anyone that's ever played for the team is an assistant to the assistant of the assistant's assistant.
Yes.
And, it's endless how many people are working down there. But what Shanahan also had, his fingerprints on was the way they did business, the way season ticket holders were handled, the way game ops were handled. Like, he was involved in that.
Oh, yeah.
He was heavily involved in game operations in terms of what was the goal song. Remember that? There was all this discussion. That was his call, I believe, to either go with what it was going to be, stick with what it was going to be, move on from it eventually, how they handle the alumni.
The
and I
alumni
would
is an important one for me, Hayes, because to see those guys that played for the Leafs for a long time, I don't even consider myself one of them. I was there for 2 years. But to see them go to the game and have the ability to go to the game, wear the jacket, be remembered, and just have a place to sit and watch the Leaf game if you just, do so choose. Like, it meant a lot to me to see for those guys. Not for me, for those guys. So that was awesome.
Yes, absolutely. And I'd
You've
like
been
to
in there
believe
a
that'll
bunch, and
continue.
you saw what goes on. Like, it's just it's a nice thing for the guys.
Incredible operation.
And
Incredible operation.
That's a great point, O-Dog, because I think, you sometimes gets overlooked. It's people pile on Shanahan's faults, and for good reason. Like, he's had an awfully long time and an awfully long leash and hasn't been able to get it done when it matters as an executive. But, like, early in his tenure, he did a lot of the right things, like the retiring of the numbers that had been kind of honored all those years, and
Legends Row, all of it.
Legends Row,
Yep.
and remaking the crest, and sort of trying to restore the pride in the franchise and the heritage in the franchise. I think all those things, he got all that stuff and he understood all that stuff, and I think that was really important.
And that can't be lost now.
Can't be lost.
That's what that would be a concern. Like, I get it. If you're a fan, what happens in the alumni box does not affect you. I understand that. Like, a guy driving around doesn't care.
Doesn't care at all.
Yeah,
that's
doesn't.
understandable.
But it's important stuff in terms of the way your franchise is run, in terms of connecting with the history, in terms of your because, again, prior to him arriving, there were some real embarrassments in terms of the way some things went down and the way some things were handled. So that would be the concern, I think. If what Shanahan kind of represented was steadiness, was class, was an operation that wasn't easily goofed on. Yes, you could look at their playoff history and their performances. I get it, of course, but this wasn't some rudderless ship. And I don't think you should immediately anticipate that it will become that. I don't think it will become that, but Shanahan's no longer here to keep those checks and balances, invoked, so to speak. Like now it's Pelly. And this is where the thing is. If Keith Pelly's going to do the whole thing, well, he's got the Leafs and the Raptors and TFC and the Argos.
Dude, that's what I don't
That's
understand.
a lot, man.
It's a lot on that. What is that guy at? Like, it's tough enough looking after one team.
Yeah.
One element of a team. What is he going to do? Like, he doesn't know squat about playing hockey. So what is he going to do? Oversee hockey operations?
It can't happen, right? I mean, it has in the past where guys have been like. The reality of it is if you're going up the chain, you got to run it by someone in a suit. I want to hire this person. I want to fire that person. And what you hope doesn't happen is whoever that happens to be doesn't start thinking that they're all of a sudden something that they're not.
Yeah,
like that.
Right.
That
a lot
is
of
very
smart
concerning.
people, like our boss J-Max, he's a smart guy, but he can't go run the Leafs. Sorry, like he's just
Right.
J-Mac, you can't do it. I'm sorry.
I don't know why
text me.
he's
Well, I don't
taking
know. I
straight.
mean, why are you saying?
No.
I mean,
He's got to take
I don't.
one
I
and-
wouldn't. He doesn't need to be running the Maple Leafs.
I see.
I don't think hockey is his expertise.
He's
Well, look,
busy enough with you and I and what's
I mean,
going on here. He's
to
got
def-
enough
Don't
on
text
his
me,
plate.
J-Mac. Don't come at me.
He's got
It
a
was
lot on
just-
his plate.
to
Yeah,
defend
a lot.
Pelly, I mean, Pelly did play college hockey, I believe university hockey at Ryers, the
Dave, I don't
formerly
care
Get
where
him
he
in
played
there.
hockey.
University.
I
Get
don't
him
care.
negotiating.
The guy was running the European tour 2 years ago, and all of a sudden he's going to be making trades. What?
No, he's
gonna
not
be
making trades.
No.
man.
Well,
He's
he's
not
yeah.
making-
I,
He's
I
not-
don't know.
Pelly's
I don't
not
even
doing
care. He's a nice guy.
Yes.
I don't
No,
even care
but
what he does.
Tree Living is, I'm assuming, running the show here. And again,
Yeah.
breaking news this hour: Brendan Shanahan has been let go by the Leafs, or his contract will not be renewed. Go ahead.
Right, and no, but I guess the point you're making, though, O-Dog, is in, like when you remove the layer of team president and it's a direct report from the GM to the CEO, Keith Pelly, yeah, well, how does that affect things? Does he become the new Shanahan, essentially? It's a good question. It's a really good question. The idea was that the layer of the president was worried about the organization, where the GM was maybe worried about the team. In other words, the president had the big picture in mind more often. The GM's worried about making the playoffs right now and winning now. Those two things kind of had to go together, obviously, and you can't really separate one from the other. But that was the idea behind the extra layer. And whether they're going to, get rid of that extra layer with all the other franchises, who knows? I think it's going to be a case-by-case basis.